the two most important male figures in my life. Chris was gone 2012. I lost my father 2014.
Sometimes fame and money aren't enough, especially in the entertainment industry, because behind the charts, the tours, and the applause, time keeps score. And for some rappers, success didn't protect them, it accelerated the damage. These are 20 rappers who aged terribly, and today we look at then versus now. Trust me, you'd be surprised at the names that pop up on this list. Busta Rhymes takes the first spot on the list. In the 1990s, Busta Rhymes was a human exclamation point. Wild dreadlocks flying, hyper-animated videos, and a machine gun flow that made him feel larger than life. But behind the superhero image came real loss. The deaths of his father and close friends pushed him into deep depression, and food and alcohol slowly filled the void. His weight climbed, and health problems followed. He developed severe sleep apnea and throat polyps that blocked nearly 90% of his airway. Breathing became so dangerous that doctors warned he could die in his sleep.
Yeah, there's certain pictures I had these like...
The real wake-up call came from his son, who looked at him and said, "Dad, you look like you're dying."
And I ain't never been this scared, Dad, but I'm scared you're gonna die.
It shattered him, but it also changed him.
Finished me. At that point,
Busta committed to the gym, dropped significant weight, and fought to rebuild his health. Still, a viral clip from 2021 showing him gasping for air mid-performance reminded fans of a hard truth. The body never forgets years of damage. Even legends pay the bill eventually, and Busta's story proves that no amount of energy lasts forever. This isn't over. Wait till you see who is next on the list. Lil Wayne takes the second spot.
Damn, like, I cannot believe I was thinking like that.
Thoughts like what?
Thoughts like killing yourself.
There was a time when hip-hop arguments ended with one name, Wayne. From the Hot Boys era to his legendary mixtape run, his youthful face and limitless energy made him seem untouchable. But fame carried a hidden cost. Years of lean use, relentless touring, and undiagnosed epilepsy led to seizures that repeatedly made headlines. Emergency plane landings, canceled shows, and near-death scares.
Just in, Lil Wayne has been hospitalized for 2 seizures that he had mid-air after ingesting massive amount of...
By his early 40s, the damage was written across his body. His once thick dreadlocks thinned, his frame shrank, and his skin appeared worn down by stress and years of abuse. Fans began saying the same thing over and over. Wayne looks 60 at 40, and lean robbed him of his youth. And yet, he remains unstoppable. He is still dropping verses, still selling out arenas, still defying the odds. That is the paradox of Lil Wayne. His voice sounds ageless, but his reflection tells a different story. He is both a living legend and a cautionary tale, proof that even the greatest cannot escape what time and health eventually take away. Next on the list is a man that someone tricked to take drugs, but it left a permanent stain on him. And that is DMX, the third on the list. DMX was not just a rapper, he was a force of nature. His gravelly voice hit like a sermon. His energy turned concerts into full-blown revivals, and his raw honesty made millions feel seen. But pain was always woven into his story. At 14, a mentor handed him a blunt laced with crack.
I later found out that he laced the blunt with crack.
Unknowingly igniting a lifelong battle with addiction. From there, the cycle never stopped. Success, relapse, prison, rehab, and emotional collapse, over and over again. The toll showed clearly with time. His once muscular frame faded, his teeth were gone, and his eyes carried deep exhaustion. Yet fans stayed loyal because he never pretended otherwise. Every album included a prayer. Every interview carried truth. As one Reddit user put it, DMX aged terribly, but only because life treated him terribly. In April 2021, after suffering a heart attack linked to an overdose, X passed away at 50. The world mourned not just a rapper, but a man who carried collective pain like it was his calling. DMX aged in public, and every scar told his story. Number 4 is Beanie Sigel. Beanie Sigel was once Rockefeller's enforcer, a baritone voice that sounded like raw authority. In the early 2000s, he stood shoulder to shoulder with Jay-Z, trading shots with Nas, and holding his ground against anyone. But everything changed after violence caught up to him. A shooting in 2006 rattled him. Then in 2014, another tore through his stomach during an attempted robbery.
I got shot in my back. Damn. I got shot twice in my back, came out my stomach.
Doctors removed one of his lungs. permanently altering his life. His booming voice turned raspy, his breath shortened, and his presence weakened. Prison time for tax and weapons charges stole crucial years. When he resurfaced, fans barely recognized him. Aging did not just touch Beanie Siegel, it stripped him. Sliding in at number 5 is Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim's transformation remains one of hip-hop's most debated stories. In the 1990s, she was radiant, the queen bee, fearless, glamorous, and redefining power and beauty in rap. She was bold, unapologetic, and celebrated. But beneath the diamonds lived deep insecurity. In 2000, she admitted that men often cheated on her with European-looking women, a confession that planted lasting doubt. Over time, surgeries followed, altering her nose, skin tone, and overall appearance. Each public appearance reignited debate, reinvention, or loss. By 2019, viral selfies shocked fans. Some defended her choices, others mourned who she once was. Her story reveals how fame and beauty pressure reshape identity. Number 6 is Eminem. Eminem built his rise on shock value. Bleached blonde hair, raised middle fingers, and a snarl that demanded attention. But in 2007, the real shock came when he nearly died. Years of pill abuse caught up to him after a methadone overdose left him hours from recovery forced him to relearn basic skills. Walking, talking, even rapping. Sobriety saved his life, but it changed him forever. The youthful, slim, shady image disappeared, replaced by a sober survivor. His face grew sharper, his eyes heavier with experience. Fans noticed the shift, with one comment saying, "Shady died years ago." Eminem survived, but survival left its mark. At number 7, we have Black Rob. Black Rob gave hip-hop one of its most lasting party records with Whoa, a song that still hits like a flashback every time it comes on. But his final chapter was the harsh opposite of that energy. In April 2021, a video surfaced of Rob in a hospital bed, visibly weak, speaking with painful honesty as he mourned DMX and revealed his own reality. Multiple strokes, years of dialysis, and no stable place to live. It was not a rumor, it was his voice. Weeks later, he passed at 52. And if Rob showed how fast the light can dim, the next story shows a body collapsing under its own weight. Number 8 is Big Pun. Christopher Rios, known as Big Pun, was a lyrical heavyweight in every sense, rapid, precise, and unreal for a man fighting his own body. In the late 1990s, his breath control was legendary, bending complex bars like it was nothing. But behind the charisma was a crisis that kept growing. His weight reportedly climbed past 600 pounds, and even when he tried to reverse it, including a weight loss program in 1999, the progress did not last. Stress and depression followed him as fast as fame did. In February 2000, he fell ill, then died of a heart attack at just 28. And after Pun, we moved to a man who lived with pain from birth. Prodigy takes the 9th spot. Albert Prodigy Johnson was not just Mobb Deep's voice of cold truth, he was a lifelong fighter. From birth, he battled sickle cell anemia, a brutal condition that can trigger intense pain episodes and constant hospital visits. You could hear that reality in his music, especially when he spoke about suffering with a calm that felt almost numb, like a man used to surviving storms no one else could see. Even while representing Queensbridge toughness, he often looked frail, worn down, and underweight because his body was always at war. In June 2017, while hospitalized, he tragically died after choking during a meal. And from a life of pain, we shift to a man who turned laughter into a legacy. Number 10 is Biz Markie. Biz Markie brought something rare to hip-hop, joy that did not feel forced. Just a friend made him timeless, and his goofy charisma made him easy to love. But offstage, Biz was fighting diabetes, and the battle was serious enough that doctors warned him about devastating complications if he did not change. He took it personally, dropping a massive amount of weight through diet and lifestyle shifts, proud that he was trying to reduce medication and reclaim control. For a moment, it looked like a comeback, but diabetes plays the long game. Complications eventually caught up, including a stroke in 2020, and he passed in 2021 at 57. And after Biz, the next story is younger, darker, and painfully prophetic. Number 11 is Mac Miller. Mac Miller entered the spotlight as the baby-faced kid from Pittsburgh who seemed built for a long run. But early fame has a way of turning private struggles into public weight. Over time, Mac openly talked about using substances to cope, and his music started sounding like a diary of someone trying to outrun his own mind. By the late 2010s, fans noticed the shift. tired eyes, a heavier presence, and a voice that carried more strain than before. What makes Mac's decline hit harder is how much of it he processed in his art, like he could see the cliff coming and still could not fully step away. He died from an accidental overdose at just 26, leaving fans with the feeling of a future cut short. And from a young loss, we move to a man who survived by transforming his entire body. Number 12 is Fat Joe. For decades, Fat Joe was New York hip-hop's larger-than-life presence, confident style, big personality, and a name that became an identity. But grief and depression, especially after losing Big Pun, pushed him toward heavy drinking and weight gain, and his health reached dangerous levels. Having dealt with diabetes from childhood, he knew the risks were not theoretical. A wake-up call forced him to change, and instead of surgery, he committed to learning nutrition and restructuring his lifestyle. He lost a huge amount of weight and improved his health dramatically, even speaking about getting off insulin. But the visual shift surprised fans. The slimmer face, looser skin, and a more aged look that came with the transformation. He gained years back, but the mirror looked different. And from controlled reinvention, we turned to pure chaos. Number 13 is Old Dirty Bastard. Old Dirty Bastard was chaos with charisma, gold teeth, wild energy, unpredictable moves, and a presence that made Wu-Tang feel dangerous and alive. But the same force that made him unforgettable also carried self-destruction. ODB battled constant legal trouble, heavy substance use, and mental health struggles that played out in public, sometimes through infamous moments, and sometimes through the slow erosion fans could see on his face. By the early 2000s, he looked worn far beyond his years, thinner, drained, and exhausted in the eyes. When he surfaced near the end, fans said he looked decades older than his actual age. In 2004, he collapsed in a New York studio just before turning 36. He did not simply age, he burned. And after ODB's crash, we moved to another icon shaped by excess. Number 14 is Flavor Flav. Flavor Flav was Public Enemy's electric spark, the wild clocks, the manic voice, the comic energy that made the message hit harder. But behind the hype man persona was a long struggle with addiction, one he has spoken about openly, including how extreme his habit became. Over time, the damage showed: missing teeth, a worn-down look, and a body that seemed to carry years in the face. Reality television turned him into a pop culture character, but it also exposed how far the lifestyle had pushed him. Even after getting sober, the past stayed visible: deep lines, fragile health, and that exhausted edge that does not disappear overnight. Fans have made harsh jokes, but the truth is simpler. Drugs take time and charge interest. And speaking of time being taken, the next story is a man whose years disappeared behind bars. Number 15 is Mystical. Mystical once performed like a human engine, raspy, explosive, and unstoppable, earning comparisons to James Brown because he attacked the stage with pure force. In the late 1990s, he looked sharp, fit, and full of momentum. Then his career hit a wall when he went to prison in the mid-2000s, and incarceration has a way of aging people fast, physically and mentally. When he returned, fans noticed the difference immediately: heavier, older in the face, and missing the same spark that once lit up performances. More legal trouble and public controversy kept dragging him further from the version people remembered, turning his story into one of wasted momentum instead of pure talent. For many, the decline is not just appearance, it is the weight of consequences. And after prison time, we move to a man who hid behind a character while fighting his own demons. Number 16 is Shock G. Shock G, the mind behind Humpty Hump, made hip-hop feel fun in a way that still holds up: playful, funky, and original, with Digital Underground shaping an era and even helping introduce Tupac early on. But behind the humor lived a long struggle with substance abuse, and as years passed, fans could see the energy fading. Interviews and appearances showed a slower, more tired version of the man who once felt like pure bounce. In April 2021, later reported as an accidental overdose. He was 57, but many fans said he looked older in his final years, like the joy cost him something privately. His story is a reminder that laughter can be a mask, not a cure. And from an artist who hid behind an alter ego, we turn to a man who built hits for everyone. Number 17 is Scott Storch. Scott Storch is not a rapper, but his sound helped define an era, with production that touched major names and massive records across the 2000s. At his peak, he lived like the money would never stop: luxury cars, mansions, private jets, and a reputation as the hitmaker who could not miss. Then, addiction, especially cocaine, pulled the floor out from under him. He later admitted to burning through tens of millions in a short period, and the fall was as loud as the rise. Photos from those years shocked people. He looked gaunt, hollow, and aged beyond what time alone would explain. He has worked to rebuild his life and career, but the before and after remains a warning. Success can vanish fast, and the body keeps receipts. And speaking of bodies keeping receipts, the next artist has been fighting health battles for decades. Number 18 is Boozy Badazz. Boozy Badazz has always carried Baton Rouge in his voice and built from survival. But even that toughness has limits when your health becomes a daily war. Diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as a teenager, he has lived with constant management, unpredictable crashes, and the pressure of staying functional while touring and recording. Then the stakes rose again with a cancer diagnosis in the mid-2010s, leading to surgery and scars that changed how fans saw him. Prison time only made things harder, with stress and inconsistent care adding to the toll. In recent years, fans have noticed the thinner frame, the tired eyes, and the raw honesty in how he speaks about needing prayers. He still performs, but his appearance tells a deeper truth. Survival is loud, but it is not free. And from a man still fighting, we move to a legend whose final years looked painfully worn. Number 19 is Coolio. Coolio gave the world Gangsta's Paradise, a song that jumped outside hip-hop and became a global memory. His look was iconic too. Those spiked braids were part of the brand, instantly recognizable. But as time passed, the image changed in a way fans could not ignore. Years of stress, hard living, and past drug use seemed to catch up, and his hair thinned so much the internet turned it into a cruel running joke. Coolio laughed with it publicly, but behind the humor, his body looked like it was slowing down. By the 2010s, he often appeared frail and older than many peers. When he died in 2022 at 59, fans said the wear showed long before the headline. And to close this run, we land in Miami with an artist battling an illness that leaves marks you cannot hide. Number 20 is Trick Daddy. Trick Daddy was Miami's raw voice in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Gritty, raspy, unapologetic, like the city's heat in human form. But behind the music was a quiet enemy, lupus. Diagnosed in the late 1990s, he has admitted he struggled with staying consistent on treatment because of the side effects, and that decision came with visible consequences. Over time, lupus affected his skin and appearance in ways fans could not ignore, making him look older than his years. Later television appearances showed a different kind of honesty, less invincible, more reflective, and aware of what health neglect can cost. His story is not just about aging, it is about erosion, the slow grind of illness mixed with life in the spotlight. Younger Trick looked untouchable. Older Trick looks like a man who survived battles most people never saw. These stories are reminders that fame doesn't freeze time and success doesn't protect the body. Behind every legend is a human being paying the price for years lived at full speed. If this list surprised you, hit like, subscribe, and comment which artist's transformation shocked you the most. And if you want more raw, unfiltered hip-hop stories, you already know what to do.